I want to tell you an anecdote, right? Because I heard this from my clients, from other coaches, and I'm like, is that real? And then I thought to myself, Janki, I have 2 rental properties that I own in Seattle, Washington, in that market. One of the hottest real estate markets in the last 3 years. Just amazing how it's gone. But guess what? I moved out of one of those properties in 2015, and I have not lived in Washington State since 2015, right? So I am an absentee owner, right? I'm extreme. I'm out of the country right now, right? So I'm an extreme absentee owner. Do you want to know how many agents have called me in the last, I'm going to narrow it down, last 24 months?
I can just imagine. I can only imagine.
How many agents have called me? And the answer is... How's it going?
We're going to be masterminding together very, very soon when I'll give you a surprise. But anyway, I am totally excited to have you on board. I'm just waiting to go live right now. And, we're going to be talking about best scripts, seller scripts, what's going on in the marketplace for sure, right?
Yep, 100%. It's a let's just call it a hot topic right now.
Yes, because it is a hot topic. So, hey guys, welcome everybody to this hot topic. What are we talking about? Best practices for seller scripts, you guys. And I'm totally excited to really bring in my amazing friend. First and foremost, my friend, my business partner in crime here, Gus, who is always amazing to share details with us of how to really, pivot in this business, in this market. And please tell us city and state you guys are from. Please, everybody in the chat group, let us know where you're from. We would really appreciate it. I'm from Fremont, California. Gus is from where, Gus? Where are you from?
Sunny Mexico.
Sunny Mexico.
85 degrees outside.
Ouch. Oh, wow.
Sorry, guys, in the Northeast. Sorry.
I don't like you right now.
Yes.
No, but it's been 70s over here. No, it's been really beautiful here. So I'm happy for that. I'll take what I can get in sunny California. But hey, guys, so we've got a lot of people here, work attendees. I can't see what and who we have here, but okay, here we go. Chat group. Here we go. San Angelo, Torrance. Look at that. Colorado, Boulder, Colorado. We've got people from Washington State, Minnesota. Hey guys, welcome. Yeah, welcome. Hey, I just wanted to introduce Gus again to you guys. He is an amazing friend. Like I said, PowerISA, one of the companies I've used and I continue to use as well. They're great folks there that really know what they're doing. And I want to introduce Gus. So Gus, welcome aboard. Welcome, always, partnering up with me with this session. We're going to talk about best scripts, seller scripts. So let's dive into it, Gus. Talk to me.
Yeah, 100%. Janki, thanks so much for the intro. It's a hot topic. People are talking about it. Why are people talking about it? Because this last December, I think we hit rock bottom on inventory for as long as they had been tracking it, right? It was a ridiculous number, the same as the December before that, and we hit a new low on inventory. We need listings in this market. We need listings. We're starved for inventory. Here's a crazy fact that I think kind of blew my mind. Last year in the US, there were 6.1 million home sales. 6.1 million home sales, folks. That means that there's a couple things going on there. That broke so many records. We had not seen that volume since 2006. That seems like ages ago, right?
It does.
So more people than ever listed their home in only 2015, 16, 17 years. More people than ever listed. But the market wants more.
Exactly.
That's the crazy thing for me, right? So more people than ever listed their home. So yes, it is challenging to get more inventory on the market, but it is not a question of people not wanting to sell. I see that thrown out there sometimes. Oh, no one wants to sell in this market. More people listed their home with an agent, by the way, than a long time before that, right? So really, really wild number, but keep that in mind because the listings are out there. We just got to go find them, right? The listings
Exactly.
are out there. All the estimates I've seen is that we're still going to sell another 6 million homes this year. Very likely that's going to happen. So you got to go out there. And if you're struggling finding listings in your database, in your traditional lead sources, you got to try something different, folks. That's why I think everybody's here today for this session. We have so many people signed up today because they want to try something different, something new. When the market is going crazy, it's always positive to be prospecting based, folks.
Exactly.
It's always positive. It
exactly.
helps.
And really quickly, Gus, I want to let everybody know that we have a special from PowerISA for March special offers exclusively for LCA members. Always LCA members, $300 off for full-time ISAs and $200 off for the setup fee and $100 off for monthly fee. Oh my God! For dedicated ISAs while supplies last. PowerISA.com/LCA. Guys, I say this because it's so important to understand what great discounts are being offered only to LCA members. And again, like Jake said, please ask us any questions. Feel free, because Gus will go on and on and on and on. He won't stop. He's like a tornado. And me and him, we're both tornadoes.
And this is a great topic. I hope I'm going to be able to hit everything I want to hit today, but I'm going to get to the juicy parts. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry.
Exactly.
But that number one thing is find ways to be prospecting based. Marketing is awesome. Marketing is amazing. I love marketing. I do marketing myself, right? But prospecting is kind of where it's at. That's how you want to build your business. Whenever you have the opportunity to pivot towards prospecting, it is one of the most scalable and one of the most predictable ways to build up your business, right? So, but I want to cut up a couple myths, right? I'm not going to talk about, not today, I'm not going to talk about expireds. I'm not going to talk about FSBOs. I'm not going to talk about circle prospecting. Those are some other sessions we've had. Look them up on the LCA channel. They're amazing. They're awesome. Those lead sources, they have their challenges, folks, right? It's not easy. I mean, Janki, I don't know how many FSBOs expireds you've called in the last week, because you might not have had any in the last week, right?
Nope. I always call circle prospecting, Gus, and this is what I teach, right? This is what I say. This is what I preach, is circle prospecting. Sellers with low inventory right now, Gus, and it's so important to make sure, how can we build inventory, right? As realtors, we're always complaining, and I always say this to my team members, Gus, is that instead of giving me the problem, please come give me the solution, right? And the solution is, the problem is we have low inventory. What is our solution, Gus? How can we seek out those seller leads?
Exactly. Given that a record number of people are going to list their home, right? Given that, there's not less homes being listed. There's not less homes being listed. There's more homes being listed. But yeah, they only last a day on the market. That is unfortunate. I wish they lasted longer, but that's the reality of the market. The market wants more, and they want more listings, right? So those are great. All those are great lead sources if you can get them to work. We're not going to talk about those today. We're going to talk about, I actually did a poll. I asked a lot of my clients, right? I said, folks, let's see what's working for you right now, right? And I purposely did not count expired, FSBOs, and circle prospecting. They have their own sets of, there's a lot of content out there. What else is working right now? And I was really surprised by some of these lead sources, because number one, a lot of people aren't really paying attention to them. So they are much less competition than an expired and a FSBO. Much less competition. Circle prospecting is different because a lot of people don't even try it. So that's still a great one in that sense. But these other lead sources are much, much, much lower competition. So it can be really, really interesting, right? So I'm going to jump into it. I'm going to talk about, I have like 5 niches here to talk about. I hope I have enough time to talk about all of them, because I also want to talk about implementing these campaigns. So you got to leave some time for that. So let's just run into it, right?
Well, like I said, I'm not going to interrupt you guys. Please take over. I'm going to go.
Let's go. It's going to be a marathon. Strap yourselves in, folks.
Yes.
So number one. And again, these lead sources, I'm sure people have heard of these before. I'm not going to invent some new one that came up, yesterday, but I am going to tell you that these are working right now, and they have relatively lower competition than anything else we're seeing in the market. Number one is absentee owners. Absentee owners, folks. And I want to, and if you don't know what an absentee owner is, it is an owner of a property that no longer lives in that address, no longer lives in that city, that county, that state. Maybe doesn't even live in the country anymore, right? Who knows? but they are no longer living in that area, right? They own a property and they don't live there. They own a property and they don't live there. And you can even modify that to be people living outside the state, or even people living, no longer that physical area. So those are really interesting. I want to tell you an anecdote, right? Because I heard this from my clients, from other coaches, and I'm like, is that real? And then I thought to myself, Janki, I have 2 rental properties that I owned in Seattle, Washington, in that market. One of the hottest real estate markets in the last 3 years. Just amazing how it's gone. But guess what? I moved out of one of those properties in 2015, and I have not lived in Washington State since 2015, right? So I am an absentee owner, right? I'm extreme. I'm out of the country right now, right? So I'm an extreme absentee owner. Do you want to know how many agents have called me in the last, I'm going to narrow it down, last 24 months?
I can just imagine. I can only imagine.
How many agents have called me? And the answer is 1 agent has called me. That is the answer. Okay.
Wow.
1 single solitary agent has called me. And that is just crazy. That's just nuts, because Seattle is one of the hottest markets. Obviously, one of the ones that's most starved for inventory, but no one has called me, right? So, folks, when I tell you that this is a low competition niche, I'm seeing it. I'm living it right now. Why hasn't anyone given me a call? That's one piece of it, right? This is a low competition lead source. Here's another one, folks, right? Another piece of information. If someone would have called me about a month or 2 out of last year, 2021, I would have put those properties in the market and sold them, right? Because, in case anyone hasn't noticed, 2020 and 2021 have been tough years for landlords. Very difficult, folks, very difficult. Because of the pandemic, all of the moratoriums, every state was a little bit different. Washington State was tough, I'll just say that. So it was difficult. You went through some difficult times. I looked at my P&L for those rental properties last year. It was a massacre. I was not happy imagine. Because that's usually cash flowing properties. They did not cash flow last year. I'll just leave it at that, right? So, folks, there's a lot of rental owners that are really struggling with their properties right now, right? They're putting in the numbers in the red from 2020, 2021, and they're like, holy cow. So believe me when I tell you, the thought of selling has crossed their mind, but no one might be offering them a solution, right? Mm-hmm. No one might be offering them a solution. Mm-hmm. Everyone on this call needs to, and I'll talk about list building at the end. You should create a list of every single absentee owned property in your area, and you should call them up and be a solution for them, right? Have they thought about liquidating that property? Have they thought about cashing out? Have they thought about diversifying? These are investors, right? They might own 2, 3, 4, 5 properties. Have they thought about diversifying yet? They probably have. How can you help them? How can you help an out-of-state resident sell their home? Be that resource. You can even charge more than a typical listing for this service, because they're going to need probably clean that place up. They're going to need some contractor work. They're going to need a lot of help to get that property listed. If you position yourself as the solution to these owners, you're going to set yourself apart than anyone else who just wants to give them, maybe they're getting calls from cash for their homes, right? Maybe but are they getting calls to help them get the most out of that property and handle and solve all of these problems for them? So absentee owners really, really love that. Along that same vein, similar lead source are for rent by owners. Right. For rent by owners. Similar situation, folks. Similar situation. And I love the for rent by owners for 2 reasons. One of my clients does this, and I absolutely love it. I'm going to share it here with you guys. He tracks every single time a property is up for rent. Why is it up for rent? Because they're looking for a new tenant. So he calls up the owner, right? Says, hey, would you like to list or not? And maybe that goes well, maybe it doesn't. But guess what? He knows that in 12 months, he has a follow-up call to make, because that lease is up for renewal. The tenant might stay, the tenant might leave. This client, one of my clients, has an ISA making all of the calls for every single rental in this market. He's in the New York City area, very hot rental market, very big, very high income rental market. You can make a lot of money in rentals in New York City. He tracks them because if they're not going to list, he tries to help them get a new tenant the next time around. So he keeping track of these for rent by owners, you know whether it works or not. You know that 9 months down the road, you have a follow-up to make. And if you accumulate enough of those, you're going to get some interested sellers, potential sellers. You're going to keep in touch with them. So there's 2 reasons I like that for rent by owner. Try to get the listing right now, see where they're at, take their temperature, and you've got that follow-up. Don't wait 12 months to make that call, by the way. Make it a few months ahead of time. Hey, Mr. Owner, I know your lease is coming up pretty soon. So have you thought about putting this property on the market? Let me give you a new estimate. Let me give you this. Let me give you that. Come from contribution, get their attention, be a solution for them in this marketplace. Give them, here's another one for investors, folks. Give them options of better properties to buy, right?
Yeah, and so
they might want to, every single person that owns a single family property as an investment, the thing they're thinking, if they're really an investor, they're thinking about, man, I really should get multi-family. I really should get multi because that is, it's easier to manage. It's an overall better investment. It cash flows much better than most single family homes. So if you want to get an investor's attention, give them some properties, potential multifamily for them to get into, and they might actually flip some of those single family homes and get into the multifamily. That's what all the real estate investors want to do. Get more doors under the same management, right? So their income goes up, they diversify, all of those amazing things. So you can see the energy about the renters and the investors is because I think this is a very much an untapped resource that we need to tap into to get more properties on the market, get people rolling, get them going.
Exactly. Even 1031 exchange.
All right. Moving on to the next one. Moving on to the, oh, I can't hear you. You hear me, Janki? I can't hear you for some reason.
I said, do you have the 10th? Okay, keep going. I think you might have this one on your.
Yeah, something's messed up with my audio. Can't hear you, but I'm going to keep going. So the next one that I like, the next one that's really interesting, downsizers. Okay. Downsizers. And you guys know the kind of a person I'm talking about, typically retirement age, has a property, typically massive amounts of equity, if not 100% equity position in that property a lot of times. And typically, if you look at the last couple of years, they're about 20, 25% of the market, right? Every estimate I've seen is that number has nowhere to go but up, right? That number, because the big baby boomer bunch of folks are starting retirement. They're just starting retirement, by the way, right? We still have a lot of them left to go, but there's going to be more and more of these folks listing their homes, right? Because they are downsizers. And there's a lot of reasons why these folks might be thinking of selling their home. A lot of them have 2-story homes. I have parents that are in their 70s. They don't want stairs in their home, right? 100%. They might be moving into assisted living. Their kids are out of the house. They don't need such a big house. In some states, their tax bill is bigger than their mortgage ever was, right? Because their taxes adjust every single year. So there's a lot of reasons why these folks might be thinking of selling. You should be calling them. You can generate a list of homeowners above a certain age with a minimum amount of an equity position and give these folks a call, right? And when you're talking to folks that are elderly folks that are going through this, you want to be a solution, be a resource for them. This is, if selling a home is hard in this market, imagine if you're older, you're not familiar with the technology, it's a hassle, right? You might not have an agent that you've known for years that's going to list your home anymore, right? So be a solution to these folks, be a resource for them. Downsizers, 20% of the market, they are going to be more of the market this year. They're going to be more next year. And for the next few years, they're going to be more and more of them listing their homes. Be a resource, reach out to them first, start the conversation. Another thing I love about this demographic, they pick up the landline. They have landlines and they pick them up. I'm not lying. This is 100%. Janki, you do circle prospecting. A lot of folks that pick up on those circle prospecting calls are elderly folks. Folks, give them a call at your contact rate. So Run these numbers, compare, because the contact rate is higher for this demographic. It just is. They're more used to talking to folks on the phone. They appreciate, and I appreciate that. I love these folks. I love the demographic, right? They're great. And if you show them appreciation, if you build a relationship, they will be great clients. They'll be very loyal. So I love the demographic. Reach out to them, but be purposeful about it. One of the things I love about circle prospecting is that it's so broad. One of the things I don't like about circle prospecting is that it's so broad. Targeted calling can be a great use of your time because in this demographic, they're all homeowners, right? When you build a list specifically with these folks, you're only building a list of homeowners. When you match it up the phone number, and I'll go into that, folks. I'll go into the tech part about it towards the end here. But when you match them up the phone numbers, there are going to be a lot of landlines on that matching. That's great. That's awesome. All of that tells us they're much more likely to pick up the phone. They're much more likely, and it is a better use of your time. When we're doing, to give you a comparison, when we're doing circle prospecting, you might get 1 or 2 nurtures, qualified leads out of a full day of calling. Like you have to call all day, dial hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of numbers, talk to dozens and dozens of people to get 1 qualified seller lead, maybe 2 if you're good at it, right? With these sources, and I'm talking about the absentee owners, the rent by owners, the downsizers, if you have some skill, it takes skill. Out of 10 conversations, you should get 1 potential seller. Out of 10 conversations. Gus, how can that be possible? Folks, you're calling confirmed homeowners that have a potential reason to sell. That's why it's higher. This is not magic, right? That's the reason this is more interesting for them. You need to make sure that if you're calling a higher value list, you're going to get better results, right? This is not, rocket science. This is why that can work better. If you can tell me any lead source that out of 10 conversations you get a lead, I will eat my hat. I'd love to hear about it, right? Because they either cost a ton of money or they just don't exist, right? And yes, expireds used to be that way years ago. Yes, for sure. They're not that way right now, right? So these lead sources have much less competition and they're much more targeted. Along that same vein, all of these downsizers, there's a specific niche of downsizer that I think is woefully underserved. And that is not the homeowner themselves, right? You should be prospecting the retirement community, the assisted living facility. These are not thousands of offices in every city. No, there's maybe a few dozen, might be 100. It's a very small number of these facilities out there. You should be calling them. You should be meeting with them because all of them, maybe they have a preferred agent they work with, right? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I promise you they haven't seen that person's face in who knows how long, right? Let me just tell you that. That's how this tends to work. One of my clients, Coach Brad Vanderwall, built a business around prospecting retirement homes, retirement communities around his city, right? And he used ISAs to help him gain leverage and talk to these people faster. And it's a really simple call. It's a business-to-business relationship. Hey, I'm a real estate agent, and I love working with folks that you serve, right? I love working with folks that are making that transition. I've got you should do this. I have a special plan for folks to help them with the moving, with the maintenance, whatever it is, folks. Be a resource for them. Help them make that transition. Because a lot of times folks move into these facilities and they have a home to sell. And if they don't have an agent already, or even if they have an agent already, they always ask them to check in with their preferred real estate agent because you've got to give them those great reasons. Why would you be a preferred real estate agent? For folks making that transition. So that's one woefully under-prospected, woefully underutilized that if I were starved for inventory, I would be making those calls. I would hire an ISA to make me make those calls, and I would attend those appointments with these retirement communities, assisted living communities to become their preferred agent, get your foot in the door, and have them give you a shot. Would it be worth it in this market to even get 3 or 4 referrals from them every single year? That would be a good use of my time. I hope it would be a good use of your time because those referrals build up and build up and build up. And these facilities are only going to get more people moving into them every single year. So that one, I love that whole demographic, the downsizer / retirement community person. That is a great one, also very underutilized, and a lot of folks moving into that demographic more and more every single time, right? So there we go. So let me recap the first four. Let me recap the first four. Absentee owners, for rent by owners, downsizers, and retirement communities, assisted living communities. I think that those four can jumpstart any prospecting campaign, can jumpstart any team that's interested in making this happen, okay? I'm gonna get to these other ones. Actually, I have two more. These are 6 sources I wanna get to. Okay, let me take a deep breath. Let's keep going. So the next one, folks, next one is one you've heard a lot about, and this is probates. Probates, right? So, there's only a few things that are certain in life, taxes, and then you're going to die someday, right? So for folks that don't know what probates are, if someone passes away, they own a home, they don't have their will or some kind of trust in place, they go through a process called probate, right? It is a state process. They go through the court system, and it can take a year, it can take 2 years, etc. But a lot of folks go through probate, and they have someone at the end of the day that has a property in a location they might not even live in. You have an heir that's assigned, right? Someone becomes a trustee of that property. A lot of times, they not only don't live in the city, they might not live in the same state that these homes are located in. Something like 90% of homes that go through probate, right? Actually, Jake, I love that. There's some agents that all they do is work probates. That's all that they do. That's amazing, right? Because they identify this niche. The niches, the riches are in the niches, right? So they identify folks. 90% of these homes that go through probate are going to get sold. 90%. When I was an active real estate agent, I got to work with out-of-state probate clients, right?
And you know what?
Unbelievably easy to work with them, right? Because you're there on the ground, you're helping them. I love these situations. There's a common vein in these different situations, folks. There's a different situation here where you not only have low competition with these lead sources, but you also have a way to actually go in there and add a ton of value to them, right? Because they need help. They're not the typical owner that is interviewing 18 real estate agents that week, right? It's not a typical situation. These situations are a little bit different. They're outside the norm. That's where they're going to be lower competition. Probates is a great one. With my probate clients, I would give them the full spectrum of services, right? They probably had not set foot in that property for years. If maybe had never set foot in that property at all. I had one client that had never seen the home before, right? Had no idea about anything. They just knew they were not going to use that property, and they just didn't want to have anything to do with it. And I was there to be a solution, to be a resource for them, right? So find situations where you add massive value. That's what I say. That is the best way to make this happen. Okay, cool. Okay, the next one, after probates, I have one more that I want to get to after probates. There's another one, and this one is a little bit more challenging than the others. I wanted to leave it at the end, right? Because maybe you're going to be good with the other 5. This other one can be very good, and I worked this one when I was a real estate agent as well, and that is folks that are going through divorce, right? That is folks that are going through divorce. A little bit more challenging than the ones I mentioned before, but I'm going to tell you the truth, folks. When you have one couple that's going through a divorce, 50% of marriages in the US end in divorce. Unfortunately, that's just a fact. And they need service. They need help. When you have a couple that owns a property, there's going to be 3 transactions that originated from that divorce. They're going to be selling a home, and they're very likely going to be purchasing their own properties. 3 transactions from one legal situation. So folks, and I work with these clients, and for me, when people complain about, oh, the expired, the FSBO, they're hard, I'm like, divorce can be hard. It can be very challenging. But that's where I came in, and I would help these people out, right? If you take it from that perspective, you're a neutral party just trying to get them through that process, make this easier for them, right? Be a resource to them. It can be a huge thing. So you can actually prospect folks that are going through divorce 2 different ways, really similarly to the downsides, which is why I like it. There's two ways to prospect folks that are going through divorce. Number one, you can go through public records and see who has filed for divorce, right? And reach out to them and see if you can help, right? Offer something of value, offer a package, a set of services, red carpet service, white glove service, anything that you can do to make the process easier. And similarly to probates, when we train our ISAs to call these, the number one word, the number one name of the game is empathy, right? Empathy, because you have no idea what the person on the other end of the line is going through. And I saw a comment come through, divorce is tricky stuff. Oh, I 100% agree. I work with these clients, right? 100%. I did it on my own. It was a great lead source because there was always someone to talk to, someone to call, someone there, right? It's one of those certainties in life. People are going to get married. Some people are going to get divorced. So it was there, but you're right? So can always be a difficult emotional, legal, economic challenge to navigate through. When I came to those situations, it was always about helping out. I'm here to help, right? I'm not here to discuss who's right, who's wrong, who's a good person, who's a bad person. I'm here to help them get through this process the fastest way possible, the easiest way possible. That's what I wanted to do. So with folks that are going through divorce, there are public, absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Yeah. You're there to provide a service. They need a service. You're there to help them through that, right? So you can prospect folks that have public filings that have filed for divorce. These are public records. That is one possibility. And there's also a way not just to prospect the leads, but to prospect the lead source, and that is divorce attorneys. One of my clients, I thought this was a really awesome idea. One of my clients prospecting, calling up different divorce attorney offices. These are very easy to find. Google divorce attorneys in your city, and it's like, you'll find hundreds of people in that list. He would call them up. Here's another thing. Just like the retirement communities, they typically know someone in real estate, right? They know an attorney that's in real estate. They know that the person that's another real estate agent that they probably know someone. That's okay. That's fine. You want to talk to them and show them what they can do, not just to help their clients, but to help them grow their business. And one of the things my client was doing was actually helping the attorney set up Facebook or Google Ads. And I was like, what a great idea, right? Because a lot of these attorneys, they might not be very tech savvy. They might not have tried a lot of online marketing before. And again, make sure you're compliant. Do this in a compliant way, right? Because anytime you do co-marketing, there might be some rules, be compliant, but they would do co-marketing as an agent and an attorney, right? So it is very different to call up a lawyer and say, I want you to refer all your clients to me. Don't do that. That's one way to do it. It's totally different saying, hey, I'm a real estate agent and I'd love to partner with you to grow both of our businesses. Do you have some time to talk to me for a few minutes this week, right? Very different call, folks. Very different call, because if you make it a win-win for them, right? You're not relying on a personal relationship. You're not relying on some past history, right? So very different situation that you're in. So I would try something like that. When you're talking to a potential lead source, you've got to go hardcore value first. Hardcore value first. You want to be not just a service to their clients, they're going to refer you, but be a service to them. Solve a problem for them. Be a resource for them. Whether it's the manager of a retirement community, whether it is a probate attorney. Sorry, I almost missed it. Probates also have the same thing. There's an attorney behind. There's attorneys, just the same way there's agents that specialize in probates, there's attorneys that specialize in family law and probates. So that's now 7 potential, lead sources we're talking about today. So definitely check that out. But the way to talk to these folks is not just to be that agent that wants their business, right? Don't be that person. Find a way to add value to them. Find a way to add value. I thought the co-marketing idea was awesome. That can be amazing. A great way to do that. It is not necessarily a hugely expensive proposition, but that's something that I would partner up with someone if I saw potential to build a long-lasting business relationship. I would always try and shoot for the long-term goal there, okay? All right, we got 2 more topics before we finish up. We've got about 10 minutes. Let's go. Power through, folks. So Okay, awesome. Gus, thank you so much. We've got these different niches. That's great. What if I want to give this a try? Maybe you've got an ISA. Maybe you don't have, maybe you are the ISA for your team, right? If you don't have an ISA, you are the ISA. So what do you do next? Okay, so you need 3 things to get started, right? You need 3 things. Number 1 is you need a list, okay? Number 1, you need a list. And we talked about different niches today, absentee owners, for rent by owners, retirement homes, probates, etc. Folks, there's a lot of different list brokers out there. I've heard really good comments. The ones you already know, Vulcan 7, Mojo, they don't have all of these, but they have a lot of these. Red X is an LCA partner. They have a great deal for LCA agents. They have a lot of these. But here's another tactic you can use. You can actually go to your title office. Go to your title office and go, hey, Mr. Title Rep, I need your help. I would like a list of all the homes around me where the mailing address is different than the home address, right? Absentee owner. Okay, great. Mr. Title Rep, I'd like a list of the entire county's worth of every single person that is 65 and above and has at least 50% equity in their home. Can you get that for me? Of course I can. And again, every state might be a little bit different, but you can go to your title rep and generate these lists very easily. It just costs a few dollars, maybe. They might even do them for free because they love you so much. Well, some restrictions may apply, but the title reps offer these lists. They don't typically have phone numbers, though. So you need to call up another different company, right? And have them match up the phone numbers to that list. This is the most hands-on way to do this. You can obviously purchase these lists from a bunch of different vendors. Like I mentioned, Vulcan 7, Mojo, RedX, Landvoice, they all have some versions of these lists. You can also build your own. Call your title rep and call someone that can match up phone numbers to that list. I love one that's called IDI Data. There's also LexisNexis. There's a lot of them. And if folks have questions about that, please, 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 I will make sure I can send you some more information for everyone that registered to the webinar today. If you have questions about data and data providers, don't let that be a reason you don't make these calls. The lists are the easy part. The list is the easy part. Get the list generated and you're ready to go. Number 1, make that list. Make it. In some of your areas, it'll be a couple hundred people. In some of your areas, it'll be thousands, maybe even tens of thousands. So pace yourself, but you got to get started eating that elephant. Number 2, you need a dialer. You need a dialer to make this happen. But I have great news, right? Great news. This is not like circle prospecting. You need a lot of automation, right? Because the numbers tend to be very low quality. Actually, the opposite is true. The numbers tend to be much, much higher quality than circle prospecting campaign. So you don't need to dial 1,000 numbers a day to talk to 50, 100 people. You might actually need to dial 100, 200 numbers in a day to have 20, 30, 40, 50 conversations. So be very, very mindful of that. You probably only need a single line dialer. Single line dialer. Whenever you're talking about a high value lead source, something that has verified phone number, you typically don't want to use the automation with folks because you're going to drop a lot of calls. Automation is not perfect, right? It does a good job at calling a lot of people very quickly, but if you're calling a lot of high value, accurate numbers, you're going to waste a lot of numbers as well at the very same time. So when we're calling these kinds of lists, I always tell folks, your dialer situation might be solved. It might just be your phone, right? Or your phone hooked up to a single line dialer in your CRM. Ring Central is a great option. CallRail, Google Voice, whatever you can use, get access to that and start making those calls. The only thing I wouldn't use is my personal cell phone number, right? And for the people that have done this in the past, you know what I mean. You don't want to get your number blocked, tagged as spam, tagged as unsolicited calling. You don't want to do that. So definitely always, 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 when you're doing prospecting, get a different dialer, a separate service. Ring Central, CallRail, those are some of the best ones, right? Those are great. Okay, so we've talked about list, we've talked about dialer. Now we're talking about script, okay? So when you're talking about script, that is the third element. That is the third thing that you need. And folks, I would love to give you every single script out there. I don't have that resource. I don't have I don't own all of the scripts that we use for these campaigns. There's different reasons that you can actually get a great script, but you need a script that gets your foot in the door. The most important part of each of these different campaigns is the introduction, right? That intro part to your script. You always want to make sure you're very upfront and to the point. You're telling people why you're calling and you're giving them the option to talk to you that day, right? Hey, Mr. Hey, Bob, I see that you're the owner of 123 Main Street. Is that right? Great. I would love to talk to you today to see if you're interested in maybe getting some cash for that property. And I don't want to buy your home. Also, Claire, this is a great important point for those absentee owners and those for my owner. You're not a cash buyer. They get a lot of calls from investors. Those are the folks that are working these lists the most, investors. And a lot of these folks, they don't want those calls. They don't want an all cash offer because they understand that those cash offers come with strings attached. They want to really beat you down on price and they want to get a deal out of those situations. So we've gotten a lot of those calls, but trust me when I say that introduction to those calls, that intro part has to be very upfront. Tell them the purpose of the call. Tell them who's calling. This is not a for sale by owner and expired. They're not going to be angry at you, I promise, right? You clarify that you're not an investor either. You want to help them get the most amount of money for their property and start the conversation there. Would they be interested in getting and liquidating that asset, diversifying that asset, selling their home, moving to something more comfortable? The intro part of the script for me is always the most important one, and you can find a way to add a ton of value that way, folks. So we're almost running up on the end of our time here. It's been a lot of information, a ton of information. If folks want to continue the conversation, you guys have additional questions, I am in the LabCoatAgents Facebook group. You can always tag me, ask for specific questions there. And if folks want to make these calls, maybe you're already making these calls and you want to add leverage to your team, folks, get an ISA making these calls. This is one of the few prospecting types of campaigns where even a part-time ISA can make a difference because you don't have to make $1,000 a day. You don't need to, right? So one of the best ways to do it is actually jump in and get a part-time ISA, making these calls and getting your foot in the door, qualifying these leads, passing on to you the ones that are at least somewhat interested in selling and that want to have a conversation with an agent. Those are the ones you should be talking to, whether they're out-of-state owners, they're downsizers and everything. Janki, I don't know I can hear you, but maybe if you yell into the mic, I can hear a little bit more. I don't know what happened.
I don't think I think everyone can hear me. I don't think you can hear me, so we couldn't have a dialogue. I just wanted
No, we can hear you, Janki.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know that this is amazing that what Gus has just said. I mean, he just went down through a bunch of great opportunities for you guys. And, like I said, it's always recorded here on LCA, like the YouTube channel, LCA YouTube channel. I know that we have a couple of questions coming in. So I'm just going to ask, Larry asked, where can he find an ISA? Go on to PowerISA.com and /LCA. That's one place you can start. And then also a couple of other things came in. I lost it in the group chat, but again, like I said, that this is being recorded. It is on LCA YouTube channel. Gus, I wanted to talk and communicate more with you and ask you a few questions that someone might have, some ideas, some questions I had, but I guess you couldn't hear me, so that's okay.
No, I can hear you slightly, very faintly, but that's why my face is up in the camera because I'm trying to hear everything you're saying. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I had a couple of questions, but you were on a roll. That's great. Anyway, so keep going.
Yeah, definitely. I saw someone raise their hand. I don't know if you have time for one. Maybe you have a question, Larry. Do you have a question? If you can throw it out there in the chat, we can get to it. Or Janki, if you have a question, I think we have time for one or two questions real quickly.
There was another one. Can you recommend any scripted dialogue?
What was that?
Can you recommend any script dialogue?
So yes, I can. And I didn't want to put the scripts into this. Otherwise, we would never finish if we were talking about each specific script. But if they can, we're going to reach out to every single person that registered for the webinar. And if you need a script, let us know, right? We can provide a script for you. So I'm committing. I'm letting people know you don't have to do anything. we'll reach out to each and every single person that registered for the webinar today. And if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, send us a message to PowerISA. We'll provide that for you. Tell them Gus sent you. And Gus told me he would help me with my script for any one of these lead sources. I am going to limit it to these lead sources. These are the ones we're talking about today. So if you need a script, please reach out. And even if you don't reach out, we will reach out to you with the recording of this webinar and ask the question there. Because absolutely, I have recommended scripts. I just didn't have enough time to go through each and every one today.
Sounds good, Gus, if you can hear me. Sounds good. It's always a pleasure talking to you, but wait, we have a few questions if you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, it was just Larry just saying thank you. Okay, got it. Anyone else have any questions? No questions at all so far, but guys, I just want to let you guys know, reiterate again, PowerISA, like I always say they're the best. I have worked with a couple of dozen ISA companies, and being a realtor, I really feel that you do need help. You need to really focus on working and building those relationships with your clients, so you can kind of leverage yourself out and have someone else do the dialing, as long as they know what lead scripts to call, what leads to call, what lists to call, and what scripts to use. Right? So I think that is fantastic. And again, PowerISA March special, amazing numbers right here. You want more information? Please do go to powerisa.com/LCA. That's all I have, folks, people. That's all I have. Just having one of those days today. Other than that, nothing else. Gus, do you have anything else to say or add?
That is it. That is it. Thank you so much. Sorry for the technical difficulties going on. Not sure what it must be on my end. My bad.
Talking to you because I love communicating.
Yeah, but thanks so much, Janki, and everyone that attended today. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Talk soon. Bye.